In recent weeks, we've witnessed scenes in London that seem to be pulled from a different universe. From large gatherings of immigrants in the streets to flag-waving parades, there are unsettling indications of a divide forming in British society. People are left asking, how did it come to this? One recent spectacle that has left many shaking their heads in disbelief involved members of the Indian community celebrating in a highly public manner. Crowds waved Indian flags, cars blasted loud music, and the streets were obstructed by the overwhelming numbers. In one striking scene, a red bus could be seen trapped in traffic, unable to pass through the throng of people who refused to move. While it's important to celebrate one's heritage, this goes beyond cultural pride. The way these crowds behaved shows a clear disregard for public order and British values. What was supposed to be a celebration of diversity felt more like a show of dominance. People wore traditional attire, and while these cultural symbols hold deep meaning, they also highlight the growing sense of alienation and cultural discord. It's difficult to ignore the divide this creates. How can we come together as a nation when such public displays of cultural separation disrupt daily life? This was more than just a parade. It felt like a challenge to British norms. This isn't an isolated incident. Recently, a large group of Afghans held a procession, waving flags and driving convertibles through the streets. Many participants concealed their faces with masks, adding to the sense of division. What's particularly troubling is the inconsistency in how these events are policed. Instances of people waving the Union Jack have been met with immediate police action, yet these cultural parades often go on without any intervention. It suggests the presence of a two-tier policing system, where some groups seem immune to the rules others must follow. Beyond the flags and celebrations, there is a growing sense of unease. These events aren't just about festivity, they're about staking a claim. For some bystanders, these gatherings feel less like a celebration of diversity and more like a declaration of separation. The sight of people wearing masks, distancing themselves from the larger society, raises questions about how well these communities are integrating into British culture. Maintaining cultural traditions is one thing, but when it leads to social alienation, it becomes problematic. Another alarming scene recently unfolded outside a mosque, where a large group of Muslims gathered in all-black attire to hear an Islamic preacher speak in Arabic. This wasn't just a peaceful religious gathering, it was a bold assertion of identity in the heart of British cities. It felt less like an act of worship and more like a display of division. How can we talk about unity and inclusion when some groups seem more interested in maintaining their separateness? Multiculturalism is not meant to breed discord, yet it's becoming clear that some parts of society are moving further apart rather than coming together. The events at the Notting Hill Carnival over the bank holiday weekend are another grim example. What started as a celebration of culture turned into a scene of violence and tragedy. Two people lost their lives, Maximan, a 32-year-old mother, and Musi Imnu, a 41-year-old Swedish national. These deaths have shocked the nation, with London Mayor Sadiq Khan calling them tragic and horrifying. What was meant to be a celebration of diversity ended in mourning and devastation for the families involved. So, where do we go from here? We are not just dealing with cultural clashes or social disruptions anymore. We are talking about lives lost, communities torn apart, and a nation that feels more divided than ever. If we don't address these growing tensions, things will only get worse. As we reflect on the current state of Britain, with concerns over mass immigration, the cost of living crisis, and social cohesion, we need to ask ourselves some tough questions. How did we get here? And what kind of society do we want to build?